you saw the spring game, you heard Coach Prime say, we're not blocking out there. And not to mention, we all remember one thing that everyone talked about the most this past season, and that was the blocking of the offensive lineman. And we already know without any blocking going on up front, you're not going to be able to open up those running lanes to allow the running backs to run the ball. So if you can't sustain blocks, you know change is going to come. Coach Prime threw plenty of warnings out there for everybody to hear loud and clear. Some may have heard them, some didn't. But we're going to get into it right about now. It's your favorite coach back at it again. 10 toes down, about to tell you how it all went down. This is Tomorrow Leader Sports Network with your host, Coach Walker. If you're new to the channel, please like, share, subscribe. Hit that notification bell to get all upcoming videos. For all my leaders out there, welcome back. Y'all know the drill. Y'all know the routine. If you haven't done so, please like, comment, and share these videos. And tap in a friend or two and tell them to come on in. It's nothing but positive vibes. We just having a good time talking about HBCU sports. And don't forget, you can follow us on all social media platforms. The links are listed down below in the description. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and tap on this thing and get straight to it. Because after watching this spring game and listening to Coach Prime give color commentary on how the team was doing in certain scenarios, especially when it came to blocking for running plays, as well as passing plays also, you knew some change was going to happen. You knew change was coming.
We got to do better offensively on the line. We got to do better offensively on the line.
Jackson State made it known they were going after some offensive linemen during this past offseason that will be able to sustain blocks and just flat out get nasty with defensive linemen up there, defensive linemen that line up in front of them. There was a few offensive linemen that played out of position during that spring game due to the fact that there were some injuries on the offensive line. Now, one thing we got to understand is this. Yes, there were a few linemen that got hurt, but in college football, as well as in the pros, you have to be interchangeable. And when you're not interchangeable, guess what? That makes you one dimension, just like when you're out there on the field blocking, you can block for the pass, but you can't block for the run. That's one-dimensional offense. And guess what happens to that? It's stagnated. And when it's stagnated, it doesn't move. When you can't move, guess what happens? Change comes. Jackson State brought in a total of 10 to 12 new offensive linemen to go along with the players that were currently on the roster. Now, that's not including this next young man we're going to talk about, none other than Devin Debo Hayes. Debo Hayes brings something to Jackson State that was missed throughout last season on the offensive line. And I know some folks out there may get upset with me when I say this, but I'm going to call it the way I see it. One thing that was missing up there on the offensive line of scrimmage, athleticism, nastiness, and just flat out being bullies on their offensive line against opposing team defensive players. And not to mention, you got to be able to move that line of scrimmage in order for your running game to work. And I think that was something that the coaches was looking at to make sure that they were able to solidify something like that this season to help those running backs be able to run the ball, to keep that clock moving, to keep those chains, try to stay ahead of the chains and not necessarily have to throw the ball all the time or become predictable on the offense. Now, one thing I'll say is this: Debo Hayes' ability to seal a defender at the line of scrimmage is important when it comes to the run game, because not only is he able to do that, he's able to run, reach, and down block. That is key when trying to run the ball, especially when they're running plays off your hip where he's able to seal off a defender, making sure that defender is not able to get around and make a tackle on the play to prevent that running back from getting up the field to get the necessary yards needed for them to stay ahead of the chains or keep those chains moving. The nastiness I like about this young man is that he does not stop until the whistle blows. Yesterday's price ain't the day's price. If the Tigers are looking to repeat as SWAC champions and to redeem that loss that they suffered to South Carolina State in the Celebration Bowl, they're going to need to have some athleticism, some nastiness, and some bullies on that offensive line that's willing to get out there and get after it, especially when QB1 Shedeur Sanders is trying to stand in the pocket and throw passes down the field, or if they're trying to run the ball. Remember, Jackson State was one-dimensional in the Celebration Bowl, allowing South Carolina State to pin their ears back and just get after it. This year, I believe Coach Prime and the Jackson State Tigers football program is looking to try to change that up a little bit and have teams understand that, hey, if you think we're just going to throw the ball all over the place, that may be true, but guess what? We can run that ball as well. Adding Debo to the lineman that's currently on the roster minus those that have already left the program. I believe they're roughly about 17 or 18 that's on the roster currently. The level of competition is getting ready to increase drastically. And if you're not willing to get out there and get nasty and get after it, guess what? There's not going to be no room for you out there to play with this team, because you got to remember one thing. Everybody in the SWAC has raised the level of competition on their teams, making sure that they get the players in there that's going to come in and compete. There's not going to be any more play like how it used to be yesterday, where, hey, man, you know, I made it over to Power 5, and, you know, hey, I like playing football, but I don't really want to compete. So if I go over here and play at the HBCU, I'm good. No, them days is done. These coaches are now setting these teams up to make sure that they have players in there that's going to compete on an FCS, borderline FBS level, because a lot of these players now are FBS players that's coming to play where? In the FCS. Debo Hayes is going to come in here and knock your block off. Y'all better get ready to see what this young man is going to do, because ain't no more games being played. I hope everybody's ready to step that level of play up and ready to get after. Congratulations, Devin Debo Hayes, on becoming a part of the Jackson State Tigers football program. And I definitely look forward to seeing you doing some phenomenal things out there on the field with your team this upcoming season. But until next time, be the one and lead.